if, like me, you have a sister or a brother, or sisters and brothers, then you'll know all about sibling rivalry, the most intense type. Who gets the parents' attention a little bit more, who has more friends, who gets to decide what they watch on TV first, who does one teacher at school favour over the other. And it tends to be the younger one that gets that little bit more attention, making the older one feel slightly put out and maybe a little bit more jealous. So you've got to feel sorry a little bit then for Volkswagen Group. There they are, spending billions and billions of euros to become the leaders in the EV market, only for their younger siblings such as Skoda, Seat, Cupra, Audi, coming along, taking the bits of engineering, fiddling about with it, and perhaps making something a little bit better with it. So given that, does Skoda make a better ID.4 than Volkswagen? Welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get on to this week's road test review of Skoda's new Enyaq, it is of course that time where I ask you to like the videos, subscribe to the channel and press the little bell button that's down below so you receive notifications of when the next video goes live. Our gratitude will be shown this week by making sure that Matt Hancock stays away from your wives. Skoda Enyaq, what is it? Well, it's Skoda's version of the Volkswagen ID.4 in layman's terms. It's another crossover spun off the MEB platform. There's going to be more of them. Audi's Q4 e-tron, for instance, a car that we're going to be testing in the next few weeks, is going to be another. Porsche's Macan will come off of this as well, because it is going to be new, an all-new EV. But of course, it sits in Skoda's range of now well-established SUVs of the Kamiq, Karoq and the Kodiaq, but this is their only full EV one. And of course, they've been used to doing sort of like EVs before. I mean, we tested the little Skoda Citigo last year, but instead of it being spun from a conventional sort of like internal combustion engine car, this is a ground up EV. But is it better than Volkswagen's ID.4? Well, let's find out. Well, styling wise, I think the answer is yes. It's certainly the more distinctive of the two. I was a little bit critical of the ID.4 in being a little bit neat, but a little bit plain Jane. This is the complete opposite almost. I mean, it's still very, very neat, but it's bold, it's distinctive. It really stands out in the car park. You've got this big grille here. Okay, it's blanked off because you don't need a grille. So it sounds odd saying that there's a grille there, but when there isn't. But it's Skoda's face, and I quite like that. And what you're also going to be able to have this year is what they call the crystal face, where 130 little LED lights are going to be in there to give it a really distinctive signature feature across its visage, which I think is going to look fantastic. I love these creases down the bonnet, the big bold Skoda badge there. You've got this grille down here that obviously feeds air into the front with this lovely distinctive splitter, and then these ducts in here which takes airflow around the wheels. As I say, much more distinctive and really, really stands out. And around the side, it's the same. The only thing I'm not so keen on is this kind of little fake, well then, I think that would have been better off just being sort of like, dare I say, maybe muzzle designation or something along the side there. But anyway, aside from that, look at it. It's a great looking car. 19-inch wheels are standard on the base model, and you move up to 20s up the range. This car's sitting on optional 21-inch wheels, which really fill the arches. They've got a lovely design about them, but look at the rest of it. It just looks phenomenal. I love this sharp crease line here, this black cladding that just sort of pinches the body to disguise some of its bulk, and then you've got a swooping roof line with the satin finish roof rails in it. No privacy glass on this one. That's the only thing I thought was a bit missing, but other than that, yeah, this is a good looking car. And then of course it all sweeps up into this lovely big rear end here. Roof spoiler, Skoda logo emblazoned proudly across its rump. Nice practical sort of like plastic rear bumper. A little bit grumpy looking there around the number plate, but I have to say, so much more distinctive than the ID.4. Now, like I say, it is a big car. Like the ID.4, it's a very practical big family car. The big low opening tailgate, albeit not electric, but odd, it's an option. We'll come on to options and prices a bit later. But it opens up to reveal 565 litres of boot space. But it's not just that, it's the little practical touches around the car. I love these little fold out shopping hooks. Silly little details like that I really like. There's an umbrella embedded in the driver's door. Great idea. There's some underfloor storage for your cables obviously in here, and there's various different packs which we'll talk about when we come on to pricing, which means you can have a little bit more storage and a variable height boot floor. But as it stands, this is the space that we've got. So suitcase wise, we've got a large one there, a medium one in there, and a cabin bag where you can stand that this way up, which means you could actually get probably 4 of them in there as well as these two. I mean, that's huge. The other neat thing this car has is an electrically foldable tow bar. It's £775, but if you are going to be towing with the car, it's really neatly integrated. It's operated via a button just in the boot here, and it comes up electronically, and then of course it folds away, completely away again. And again, there's various packs, which I keep saying, but you know, there's a boot release, a rear seat release in the rear, which you can option as well, so you don't have to go inside. You can just do it all from the boot of the car. It's like somebody's really thought of all these clever little details that families use, you know, and they find annoying with normal everyday cars. What's the rear seat space like? Let's find out. In a word, vast. Look at the space that I've got here. Now I know the seat is set up for me and I'm quite a shorty, but I've got bags and bags of legroom, acres of headroom here, footroom underneath the driver's seat, and of course, as you may know, regular viewers, I know I set my seat quite low, so I've still got footroom in there, and yet there's still enough space. You'd certainly get 3 adults across the back here. There's 2 ISOFIX points on the outer seats, obviously. There's another one on the front passenger seat, and this car is equipped, as I say, it's got a lot of options, this car, but this has got the Family Pack Plus, which gives it integrated rear sun blinds, 2 USB-C charging ports which are down there, electronic child locks which you operate from the front driver's door, integrated trays with a drinks holder at the side, much to the amusement of my daughter this week, and it also gets what they call the sleep pack, which gives these integrated pillows at the side of the head restraint, so you stop your head falling around. Really clever. And up the front it is another Triumph, and a lot better I think than the ID4, not just because of its design, but also, believe it or not, because of its fit and finish. I mean, gone are the days where Skoda was the poor relation to Volkswagen and Audi. This is Audi levels of build quality, and I think much better than the ID4. The materials used up here, we'll go on to the trim levels later on, but the trim level the trim used on the dashboard of this car is nice. It's got the kind of faux leather here, a bit of piano black. You've got it down here. You've got this nice leather seats with the kind of different contrast piping and stitching. It's got a nice size perforated 3-spoke steering wheel, which is also heated, but that's part of what they call the drive support package, if I've got that right. Which again has lots of other different little things part of it, but that's that. Down the centre console here, we've got 2 wireless charging pads. I've got a cup holder where you can vary the size of the cup, of the holder itself. I've got storage in here for sunglasses. Down here, like the Kia e-Niro, we've got a big sort of like storage tray down there, like the Hyundai Kona down there. I've got a brilliantly big centre cubby here with a detachable tray in it, and in fact I can't actually get my arm. In fact, it feels hot down there, so I'm going to think that's probably Bondi Beach that I can feel as I put my arm down there. Yeah, it's definitely Bondi Beach. Yeah, there's a shark nibbling at me there. We've got storage bins which are flock lined, so things don't roll about and get and start rattling. One of the comments we had, and thank you by the way for all your comments, we really do appreciate them. One chap has said, why don't we ever mention glove boxes? So we do. We have a glove box which, yep, you could fit gloves in there. Yep, so thanks for helping us with that one. back to the car. The whole design of it just really works for me. Now, as much as I'm not a massive fan of these big tablet-like things stuck on here, this one is probably the best that I have used away from Polestar and Tesla. It's a 13-inch display, which is standard across the Enyaq range. So it doesn't matter what trim level you go for, this is what you get. You get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay standard, and that's also wireless, which is quite handy too. And I love this little instrument binnacle. The one thing I liked about the ID4 is the fact that if you move the wheel, the binnacle moves with it, and that's not the case here. However, it's this little kind of bit that's just inset in the dashboard, and of course you can get the virtual cockpit where it will give you sat nav commands in there as well. It just all feels really nice here. The touchscreen is great to use. You know, it's just nice and it's simple, and I really like it. Navigation, as I say, you can have your Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay. There is some touch sensitive buttons like the ID4, this volume control here, which you slide up and down on your radio or your media, but at least you can rest your hand there when you do it, which you can't on the ID4. It's a bit more of a hit and miss affair, but you can also control the volume via the switch on the steering wheel, and these switches aren't touch sensitive like they are in the ID4. They're physical buttons, which I really like. Talking of physical buttons, you do have some down here. Your heated rear window, your maximum defrost to go into your climate control. The climate control you've got to alter in this screen here using the screen, but because it's so big and because you get that little click when you touch it like you do on the likes of the Audi, it's not as bad as an ID4 with the kind of, as I say, the hit and miss affair that you get with them. What else? Well, you've got locking, hazards, park assist. You access your drive modes here. Again, obviously we'll go on to those when we drive the car, but you've got eco, comfort, normal, sport and individual. You know, you can set your interior alarm monitoring. The whole thing just really works for me. Now the seats, let's talk about the seats. They are comfortable for a long drive. They are good because obviously they're based on the ID4s. And I have done a few long drives in this car while I've had it. And what I will say is, whilst they're comfortable, they lack a little bit in shoulder support. That's the only thing I will say. And as is the case with this car, there's an option with the seats as well. This has the driver's seat pack basic, I seem to remember, if I've got that right, which means it gets electric adjustment with memory on the driver's side, but not on the passenger side. I think you've got to upgrade to yet another pack to get that. But other than that, I think this is one of the nicest interiors from Volkswagen Group. I absolutely love it. As I say, it knocks the ID4 out of the park for me. It'll be interesting to see what we make of the Audi Q4 e-tron when we get hold of that. What do you think? Let us know in the comments what you think about the interior of the car, but I think it's a winner. Now the Enyaq comes with two battery sizes. It's either the Enyaq 60, which is a 62 kilowatt hour battery, or the 80, which this car is, which is an 82 kilowatt hour battery. And they give respective ranges of the smaller one giving 265 miles, the larger one that's given over 330 miles. And I've got to say, given the use I've put it through this week, I believe that. So the smaller battery car puts it on a par with one of our favourites, the Kia e-Niro, with its 64 kilowatt hour battery. It's very good. Now, CCS charging is standard, which can be done here. However, as standard, it will only take charging speeds up to 50 kilowatts. You've got to pay Skoda extra to get the 125 kilowatt charging speed, which I think is a bit mean of them, if I'm honest with you, because if you don't have it, it means that charging up to 80%, given the large battery of this car, takes over an hour from a 50 kilowatt charger, which means you can't use those rapid chargers that we're seeing popping up all over the place, like from the likes of Ionity and Osprey. So I do think that's a little bit mean. If you're charging up from your 7 kilowatt wall box overnight, it's over 13 hours to fill this car. Yeah, don't be so tight, Skoda. Fit that as standard, yeah? Now the power of your Enyaq is going to depend on the size of your battery, because the 60 only comes with a 179 PS electric motor, and the 80 only comes with a 204 PS electric motor. But to be honest with you, that 25 PS, well, it's not really that noticeable, if I'm honest. I mean, the benchmark 60 mile an hour sprint from rest in the more powerful car is done in 8.2 seconds, or 8.4 for the least powerful car. So there's not a vast amount of difference. Both are limited in top speed to 99 miles an hour, not that it's relevant. And how they feel is, well, as I say, it's a big car. It's not the type of thing you're going to go hustling down back roads. But for those of you who might want to do that, then as I say, there is the option possibly later on of a VRS model coming out. Now that's probably going to use the twin motor setup of the Volkswagen ID4 GTX. As it stands, this car is rear wheel drive and it has a nice feel to it. But as I say, forget the chassis. I mean, this particular car is fitted with the Drive Package Plus or something like that, which gives it dynamic chassis control. And it gives it a more progressive steering, you know, which weights up at speed when you go into sport mode, and it's all that. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure I can see the benefit of it on this type of car. Where the Skoda wins, as in a lot of these cars, is in its refinement. This is a lovely car to drive, beautifully comfortable. As I say, you could do with a little bit more shoulder support on the seats, but save for that, goodness me, you can do hours behind the wheel of this car, and I have this week. The only area of slight concern is the brakes, which is odd because I didn't really find it with the ID4, and it wasn't really me that actually noticed it first. My wife Liz was the first one to actually drive this car, and she said she thought the brakes were really spongy, and when I drove it straight after her, I have to agree, you're quite far down on the pedal before something starts to happen, and you can feel some resistance in the pedal, but nothing's actually happening in terms of slowing the car down. Now I'm not sure whether that's this car, whether this press car, or whether that's in Enyaq. And I say I didn't find that on the ID4, but yeah, it's a bit spongy, the brakes, which is disappointing. The rest of it, however, is brilliant. The suspension compliancy is fantastic. Now, as always with these cars, there are different modes that you can go into, and they're displayed up here on the screen. We can either have Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, or Individual. Now I've been driving around in normal mode, as most people kind to do. Obviously you can go into Eco if you want to eke out that last little bit of miles, and what that will do is it will limit the torque from the motor to make sure that you're not being a little bit over exuberant and just sort of like, you know, throwing those miles out of the window. Sport mode I haven't really bothered with, because I say I don't think it's really necessary on a car like this, if I'm completely honest with you. Going back to the brakes, you do have different levels of regeneration, which you can go into. The car is in drive mode at the moment. You can pull it back into B mode, but you can also even adjust that slightly further, which gives you effectively one pedal driving. You've got the sort of like the auto hold function, so when you pull up to a stop and take your foot off the pedal, the car is being held on the brakes. You can also adjust them a little bit more as well via the two paddles behind the steering wheel, the level of regeneration that you get, and it will come up on the dashboard and let you know about that. So that's quite good as well. But the rest of it, wonderful, absolutely wonderful, quiet, comfortable, refined. There's a tiny little bit of patter from the suspension. Well, certainly from underneath the car. I'm not quite 100% sure whether or not, and this car's on 21-inch alloys, so I'm going to reserve judgment on that until I've maybe driven a car on the smaller wheels, because that maybe has something to do with it. I mean, 21-inch wheels, there's a big old chunky alloys, and obviously there's a cost involved in them as well, and a financial cost involved, so let's reserve judgment on that. But in terms of performance, absolutely adequate. In terms of refinement, phenomenal. In terms of comfort, just the same. In terms of how easy it is to drive and manoeuvre, considering it's a big car, really easy. You get good vision out. These are big chunky pillars in the front here. You do get a little quarter light there, but it's not horrible, the view out. You can still see, you get a reasonable view back as well, and of course you get the raft of cameras that's, you know, when you're reversing, there's a reversing camera as well, and there's parking assist that you get on all of these cars, and obviously you've got lane keep assist as well. You've got, you know, radar guided cruise control too, so that's available to you. So yeah, so there's quite a bit of driver assistance in the car if you're not quite confident enough, but you should be, because this is a lovely, lovely car to drive. And there's so much space up here, so much space. It feels, I mean, it is an expensive car, but it feels like an expensive car, which is good. And my daughter loves this car. She loves being in the back of it. Yeah, this is a real winner, Skoda. Well done. Now, normally when I do the pricing section, I kind of just try and memorise it all and do the best I can, but this is where things get a little bit complicated. So I've got some material here to help me. The car, as I say, comes in two battery sizes. Now, like Volkswagen, Skoda say you choose your battery size, then you choose your trim level. So in other words, your 60 or your 80 battery sizes. Then you have either the Loft, the Lodge, the Lounge, the Suite, or the Eco Suite. Now, those trim levels are available across both battery sizes. And if you plump for the smaller battery of the two, the 60 kilowatt hour battery, they all fall below the £35,000 ceiling that the UK will then apply their plug-in car grant to. So in some respects, the range kicks off just under £32,000, and it's relatively good value for money at that level, because at that level, you're looking at a smaller battery Kia e-Niro with a higher trim, or the bigger battery, the 64 kilowatt hour battery with a slightly lower trim. So it's kind of level pegging with those two. But if you go for the 80 kilowatt hour battery, then all of those cars go above the £35,000 ceiling, so the grant can't be applied. Now, this car here is a Suite trim level, and it starts at £40,000, but this car is optioned up to £45,000 because it has 21-inch Betria anthracite metallic alloy wheels at £550, the 125 kilowatt DC battery charging at £440, the assisted drive package basic at £685, the comfort seat package basic at £440, the drive sport package plus at £785, the family package plus at £455, the metallic paint at £595, and the electrically retractable tow bar at £775, giving the total of this car at time of test at £45,385. So you see what I mean? You've got to be a little bit careful with this, because it would be very, very easy to make this a very expensive car, which goes to show that gone are the days where we can look at Skodas as being the cut price alternatives, because they're not. So competition for the Enyaq is not only here, but it's still coming thick and fast. Obviously, from internal, you've got the Volkswagen ID4. Audi's Q4 e-tron is about to become upon us as well, and we'll be testing that car very, very soon, along with the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Porsche's Macan is going to be spun off this platform, but I'm going to ignore that because it's going to be slightly more expensive and probably more performance orientated, not quite family orientated as this. So, but just so you know, it's going to have the same underpinnings probably as this car. There's Nissan's Ariya that's coming out. There's Kia's EV6, Hyundai's Ioniq 5. But we can't ignore what's already out there, which is obviously the brilliant Kia e-Niro, a car we tested recently and said it's still a brilliant contender, especially in this sort of like £30,000 to £35,000 bracket where the Enyaq really plays its trump card. You're also going to be looking at cheaper versions of Volvo's XC40 Recharge coming out, and that's probably going to be around about just over the £40,000 bracket. So again, given the price level that you can put an Enyaq up to, if you spec it highly enough, then it's going to be in that sort of playground as well. And also, Skoda are going to bring out a VRS version of this car too. So that's going to be about £50,000. So there's a big broad range of spectrum of cars that you could consider against this car. So it's not easy for Skoda. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the Skoda Enyaq. We like its styling, the interior styling, the space that's on offer, its build quality, and its range, even in lower battery guise. We don't like, the car can get quite expensive with options. The fact that some of those things are actually optional, and the price of those options. And the brakes are a little bit spongy. I like the Enyaq. I mean, I really like the Enyaq. It's a better car than ID4. It's better built, it looks better than that car, it offers the same amount of space, and I think it's better value for money. Its build quality is on a different level, I think, to the Volkswagen as well. Gone are the days where the Skoda was the sort of poor relation, if you like. It's on a par, if not better. And it'll be very interesting to see when we get the Audi Q4 e-tron, how it compares to even that car. In fact, I'm going to be really, really bold here and say something. I think for under that £35,000 bracket, I think it trumps even the Kia e-Niro, and you know how much we do like that car. Skoda have done it. I think this is probably the best family car under £35,000 in the EV market. It's really that good. As always, thank you for watching. Please do remember to like the videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We'd really appreciate it if you do. And remember to press the little bell button to receive notification of when the next video goes live. And I can't believe I've got to keep saying it, but I do. If you haven't been there and you're still not sick of me, get across to AutoEV.co.uk, where there's plenty more of me in our back catalogue of road test review libraries. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. So, you've watched our video. It's now my job to tell you to like and subscribe, and press the little bell button to receive notification of when our next video is uploaded.